Welcome to this message of encouragement. Today I wanted to share a story with you about my neighbor's dog getting hit and killed by a car just out in front of my house. But before I get started, I always like to ask those of you who are watching to please pray for our nation's leaders and those that are in positions of authority, even our local government. They need to be lifted up in prayer. Our country needs to be headed in a more godly manner, or led, our leaders, leading in a more godly manner, instead of, keeping us, or this country, this great nation, on the path of destruction. Also, please pray for other people. There are many needs out in this world, and I know that people would appreciate knowing that, a stranger, a total stranger, was lifting them up in prayer. I'd also like to ask you, please lift me up in prayer. I need a healing in my body and would very much appreciate your prayers. I wanted to share the story about my neighbor's dog getting hit and killed out in front of my house. About a month ago, the dog has an electronic collar and an invisible fence. It's a pit bull. I don't particularly like pit bulls. I wish there were no pit bulls in this neighborhood because they're vicious dogs. But anyway, the neighbors have they have two pit bulls, and one of them is the older dog's puppy. And this dog, it's about 6, 7, maybe 8 months old. And the battery for the electronic, fence, or the invisible fence on the doggie's collar went dead. And they knew it. And the dog just kept getting in the road, kept getting in the road, and kept getting in the road. And it was upsetting a friend of mine that kept coming over. She kept saying, the dog's going to get hit, the dog's going to get hit. Because that's all it was doing. It was going to the road and standing in the road. Well, the neighbors left one day, and of course, the dog is standing in the road, and, my friend comes back in the house, and I turned around, kaboom! Okay, so now the car has hit the dog. I turned around, and, it kind of twisted and whirled the dog. You can see it because the, vehicle was zooming up the road, and bless the dog's heart, it was just laying there like, and all this pain and shaking its paw, and it just fell dead, just collapsed. And so I was going to come in the house, holler and told my friend, hey, he's hit, he's dead now. I hope the neighbors are happy. And I was going to come back in the house, and that, little voice, that little inner voice is like, go down there. And I'm like, I don't want to go down there. I can't get the dog out of the road. My back's bothering me. I don't, want to get out there messing with the dog. And that little voice is like, no, go down there. So, I go down there, okay, there's a dead dog. I know what a dead dog looks like. He's laying there, his eyes is open, tongue hanging out. He's got real bad cuts on his head. Has some serious head injuries. Real bad, The dog was dead, I'm telling you. It was not breathing. Well, I'm standing there looking at the dog, wondering, why that little inner voice said, go and, look at the dog. Well, I'm standing there looking at it, and what did the dog do? The dog raised its head up, and I'm like, I'm in absolute shock. So it startled me so bad, I called 911 and asked them to get the dog catch over there, to either get the dog help, because it was suffering, get the dog help, or put the dog down, because there's an ordinance, you're not supposed to leave animals suffering. And I wasn't about to shoot it, or do anything. I couldn't do anything, because, my back. And so, all of a sudden, we live on a cut through. Here comes major traffic up and down the road. I'm like, well, I got to stand here in the road because they've just hit the dog again. That's the way they do. Squirrels and possums and raccoons, they just keep running over it and running over it. And I knew that they'd hit the dog again because they really fly up and down this road, though the speed limit's 35 miles an hour. So this went on, and one of my neighbors just happened to come out, and she was kind of, at this, in part of the roadway too, so we could get the traffic, to go around the dog. And then at some point, the dog just stood up. He was kind of rickety and kind of unstable. And no, it did not just knock the wind out of the dog. The dog had been dead. He had been deceased. I know what a dead dog looks like. And anyway, he was just standing there. And then within, next thing I know, the dog just takes off through the woods and, run back over, to his house across the street. And, I'm like, I am not believing this. And then that night, I told the neighbor, I said, your dog had been hit. And I said, he's hurt really bad, you know, like, hint, hint, take the dog to the vet and get it checked out. Well, they wasn't about to do that. And we went back and we looked on the video cameras, and yeah, we could just, you know, really see that dog was seriously injured from what the video, looking at on the video cameras. So that night, I thought they were taking it to the vet before midnight. The dog was just kind of, you know, slumped over, laying in it, you know, their arms just putting it in the car. And I thought, because the mother dog had puppies, I thought when she had finally had come back and we saw the dog out there the next day, I thought it was another dog. Because I'm like, this is not the same dog that got hit. And you know, and that's what I kept telling my friend, and we kept looking at it. We're like, you know, because of the way this dog was acting the next day, this dog wasn't acting like he'd even been hit by a car. He was like sitting down, scratching himself. He wasn't walking with a limp or anything, just, you know, barking, just, and I'm like, you know, she disposed of that dog that got hit by the car, and she's gotten this one from a sister or a brother or somebody, because like I said, it hadn't been long, you know, 8 or 9 months since the mother dog had those puppies, and there was dogs that would have looked like this dog. So we were like, okay, we blew it off, it's a different dog. So we were finally out there one day, and my friend said, well, go get your camera, because I didn't have my binoculars here. So I went and I got my cameras, and I had this humongous zoom lens, and I went, you know, I got that, and I zoomed in, and I showed her that was the dog that got hit. He had the, you know, the cuts here, the gashes here. He had the gashes and the cuts. That was the same dog, but you'd have never thought that dog had been hit by a car. I never, you know, my dog, like, you know, stepped wrong out in the yard, and he hobbled for, you know, a couple of days. I mean, this dog didn't hobble or you know, he didn't do it. He just looked like a brand new dog. Now, and you know, this was a miracle. You can take for it, you know, for you know, ever how you want to believe it. You can write me off as being crazy or saying it just stunned a dog or whatever. You don't just stun an animal and it not move its eyes. This dog, like I said, was, he was just gone. He was a goner. But anyway, it's been very encouraging to me, because the Lord is constantly showing us miracles, showing us signs, if we would just keep our eyes and our minds and our hearts open and look around. Miracles are all around us, so are signs and things that God is trying to show us and trying to tell us. So I hope this message has been encouraging to you. I hope it has been uplifting to you. God bless. Stay safe.